I've had at least two eerie experiences in my current apartment. The first occurred when I was sitting in my bed. My dad was in the living room vacuuming and had shut the door to my room. Suddenly, I felt something grab the back of my shirt collar and start pulling it upward. At first, I froze, unsure of what was happening, until I felt it tighten around my throat. Panicked, I quickly swatted behind my head, thinking maybe my brother was in the room messing with me. But when I turned to look, no one was there. The terrifying part? I'm paralyzed, so I couldn't just run out of the room. I yelled for my dad to open the door and leave it open because the whole experience freaked me out. The second incident happened when I was seeing this girl who was practically living with me at the time. I was playing Xbox, and she mentioned she was going out back to smoke. I told her I'd get off the game soon and take a shower. She went out the back door, and I hopped into the shower, leaving the bathroom door unlocked in case she wanted to come in and talk or join me. As I was showering, someone entered the bathroom and shut the door. I assumed it was her, sitting on the toilet with the lid down to chat, so I started talking. Then, I heard a knock at the front door. I asked her if she could get it, but there was no response. I had this strange feeling in my gut and hesitated to check behind the curtain. I shouted for her again, thinking maybe she'd left the bathroom without me noticing, but still got no reply. Suddenly, the front door burst open, followed by quick and heavy footsteps. The bathroom door flung open, and there she was, hysterical, crying, and utterly terrified. She had my keys, which she used to unlock the bathroom door, and immediately locked it behind her. She asked, "Please tell me you locked me out." I explained that I hadn't, that I'd been in the shower the whole time since she went outside. This only made her freak out more. She told me that while she was out back, she heard the door lock behind her. She thought I might be mad at her and checked the door, only to find it was indeed locked, and she couldn't get in. She went to the front door to knock, and when she heard me inside, she realized I didn't know she was still outside. She freaked out, banging on the windows to get my attention. She returned to the backyard and heard the door unlock. She tried the door again, and it opened. She ran straight in without closing it, but when she tried to get into the bathroom, the door was locked. I reassured her that I hadn't locked the door because I left it open for her to join me or talk. This sent more shivers down her spine, and she insisted, "I'm not going back out there without you." I finished my shower, checked the entire apartment, including the closets, and locked the back door. She stayed with me in the bathroom until I was done. When I was around 10 years old, I went to a friend's apartment to hang out and play. Everything was going smoothly until he suddenly suggested, "Hey, wanna explore the abandoned restroom?" To give you some context, my friend lived in an apartment building complex. You had to pass a guard before entering, and beneath the lobby area was a massive parking lot that spanned at least 3 or 4 levels. The design was hollow, so you could see the parking lot from the lobby as well as the lowest levels of the towers. In one of these towers, there was a restroom that people had forgotten about due to its obscure location. There was also a local legend about a janitor who had mysteriously disappeared while working in there. After some convincing, I agreed to my friend's plan. We grabbed some flashlights and made the trek down from his apartment, across the lobby, and down into the hollow area. When we reached the basement, we found the bathroom at the end of what seemed like an endless hallway. The air was cold and the place was filthy. The floor was covered in grime and was oddly wet in patches. As we began exploring the bathroom, I noticed something unsettling. The cubicles were slightly crooked, the sinks were caked in muck, and the mirror was shattered. The story of the missing janitor said that while he was sweeping the bathroom floor, he glanced at himself in the mirror. Suddenly, a woman with long dark hair and pale white skin appeared from the ceiling and dragged him up into it. Naturally, the first thing we did was check the ceiling in front of the mirror, and sure enough, there was a large hole, exposing the insides of the building. But there was no sign of any woman. We lingered there a bit longer, but eventually decided to leave. My friend walked ahead of me as we headed back. Out of curiosity, I turned around for one last look at the hole. To my horror, I saw thick, dirty black hair slowly descending from it. I screamed at the top of my lungs and started running, with my friend quickly following suit. As we sprinted down the hallway, I distinctly heard something drop to the ground behind us. We didn't stop until we were back in the lobby. We were both shaken and started talking about what had just happened. My friend admitted that at first, he thought I was playing a joke on him by running off like that, but he got genuinely scared when he heard something hit the ground too. After that, we returned to his apartment and tried to distract ourselves by playing other games. It's been almost 10 years since that day, and I've lost contact with that friend. I have no idea what happened to that bathroom or if anyone else has experienced something similar. But this was my experience, and I've never forgotten it. During the fall and winter months of my 17th year, I moved into a windowless room in my parents' basement. It was the end of my junior year, and the stress from school, work, and life in general made sleep hard to come by. Every night, around 2 or 3 in the morning, I would hear noises coming from my closet. The door was always closed, but when I opened it, I noticed that the clothes hanging inside would be swaying slightly. The closet had a single light on the ceiling that cast shadows downward, making the movement all the more eerie. I would sift through the clothes, pulling them apart to see if something was there, but I never found anything. This strange occurrence happened every few days, and it was driving me mad. I talked to my friends about it, and they eagerly suggested that it was a ghost, giving me all sorts of advice on how to catch evidence of it. A friend even lent me a motion-sensing camera, which I set up to face the closet. A few days later, when it happened again, I checked the camera, but it recorded nothing. I was starting to lose hope. Frustrated, I decided to take everything out of the closet. That night, I got the best sleep I'd had in months. Once I was rested, though, my parents started pestering me to clean up my room, as it was now cluttered with all the closet's contents. Reluctantly, I put everything back in its place. That very night, the noises started again. Determined to get to the bottom of this, I searched the house for the most powerful flashlight I could find and set an alarm for 2 a.m., ready to catch whatever was causing the disturbances. At 2 a.m., I woke up and waited. While I was reading, I heard the familiar noise, the hangers were moving, and a few boxes had fallen. I quickly turned on the flashlight and rushed over to the closet, expecting to find something, anything. I searched the closet thoroughly, but once again, there was nothing. Feeling defeated, I sat down on the ground, a little scared and not wanting to be in the dark anymore, but I was determined to figure this out. I waited in front of that closet for about half an hour. It was around 4 a.m., and the flashlight was beginning to fade when I suddenly noticed 2 glowing eyes staring down at me. My heart almost stopped, but then I realized what it was. It was my neighbor's black cat, perched between the hangers, watching me. All this time, the cat had been sneaking into my closet and lying across the coat hangers. She was so still that when I pulled the hangers apart, I didn't see her. Her black, long, and thin body blended perfectly with the shadows, and she didn't make a sound. My biggest question now was, how on earth did she get into the house and into my room? I watched as she left, slipping through a hole in the ceiling of the basement's unfinished bathroom. I could hear her traveling from one side of the house to the other. It turned out she had been getting in through the garage. She would crawl into a space under the garage, slip through a hole in the wall behind some equipment, climb up a ladder into the attic, and then make her way through the walls, somehow managing to get up and down between the house and garage, into the basement, and through the hole, finally entering my room while I slept. After moving the ladder that led to the attic, the haunting stopped. I know this might not be a real paranormal story, but at the time, it was the closest I ever came to believing in something supernatural.